shake, rattle, and troll.
It's time for the award-winning Shake, Rattle, and Troll. A show for the serious fishermen as well as the novice looking for tips from the pros.
We got the power, we got the speed, we're running wide open on a midsummer breeze. Freshwater, saltwater, watch out, boys. Bass Daddy Don's gonna make some noise. It's me and the boys gonna shake, rattle, and
Now, here's your host, saltwater fisherman, the man that fears no fish, Bass Daddy and tournament pro, Don McDowell.
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm Don McDowell. Welcome to Shake, Rattle, and Troll. Thanks for tuning in and listening this morning. JK's back from being on a rope in an aluminum boat.
Yeah, baby.
In the northwest part of the country. We'll talk about that. Special guest today. Actually, we have two of them, and then some type of a homeless transient from, Sholo or Walmart, somewhere like that.
Or both.
Mr. Jim Unmock, the executive director of the AZSFWC, Joe Nacha from Lookout Mountain Outdoors, and you brought Marty down.
Yes.
Why?
Bodyguard.
Oh, okay, good. It's always good to have a bodyguard here. It's like we always say, 6 one way and 45 the next, so you figure it out. All right, we're going to get this thing kicked off today. We've got a lot of stuff to do. Memorial Day is upon us tomorrow, and a lot of thought needs to go into that. We're continually losing soldiers. We have one on roll call today. I don't have a lot of information. It was a Army Ranger that was killed in Syria. We'll go over that here in a little bit. Going through the show this morning, we're going to talk to Captain Bill, see what the prognosis on the good ship Malahini is. Rumor has it they hit a whale.
Yeah.
Ow.
That'll do it.
Ow.
That'll leave a mark.
Yeah, actually it did. I don't know the extent of the damage totally, but it knocked the radar dome off the hull, trashed, I believe, the port drive shaft, the prop, the rudder. 9 planks have to be replaced.
This wasn't that blue whale carcass they found washed up on the beach later, was it?
I can't confirm or deny that.
Yeah, that was my question. Was the whale okay? Come on, whales are more important than boats.
Whales and people, too.
And people. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Just ask Peter.
I don't know. It's just right up there with baboons as far as I'm concerned.
No, don't go there.
Okay. Then we're going to be talking to our marketing strategist, Doug, up in St. George, Utah, James Guggenauer with the report over on Roosevelt. I do want to start with a little bit of breaking news. We've had a golden alga blow up on the Salt River Lakes chain, affecting Apache Canyon and Saguaro Lake. Late last week, the Game and Fish Department has put out a moratorium and suspended angling tournaments on all 3 of those lakes until the environmental conditions improve. Basically what's happened, we've had a golden alga blow up, and several years ago we faced the same thing, and it was an indiscriminate major fish kill. Basically hit the largemouth, smallies, and every other thing in Apache and those 3 lakes. Pretty devastating to the fish population. So Game and Fish has been collaborating with Salt River Project. They've diverted flow from the Bartlett chain over to the Salt River chain in an effort to flush some of this stuff downstream. So anyway, that's the news on there. So let's get right to JK on a rope. Well, look, did you take your Mustang Survival Fanny Pack?
I did not.
Why?
Because I couldn't. I didn't want to take it through security. And anything that blows up when you go through security, like that Mustang thing does, I'm not going to. No.
Let's be clear. It inflates.
I know. Yeah, I inflated. Look, I did not want to have.
Jimmy,
I had limited storage. I'm not carrying it on a plane.
If you put your Mustang Survival self-inflating PFD in the wash machine, it will blow up.
Yes, thank you. It's all I needed for that to do while I was sitting in the airplane or walking through security. And security gave me a hard enough time as it was.
You think?
Yeah. Jeez.
But you have chickens or women or small children in your backpack?
It seemed like I had all 3. No, it was a good time. Tillamook Bay was awesome.
Excuse me?
We went to Tillamook Bay.
Oh, I thought you said Timmy McVeigh.
No.
Wow.
He's gone.
Boy, that is a deep dive.
Yeah. No, I flew up to Portland. We took we went over to the coast, stayed in a place. Basically, it's called Bay City. We took off from Bay City, and
Pretty liberal up there, is it not?
that's an understatement. Yeah,
Okay.
It's a different breed of cat up there. There was a guy doing his yard work in a 1960s tie-dye shirt with gray hair longer than Jimmy's and just flailing away. I thought it was a woman at first, screaming.
Oh, stop it. Are you profiling?
No. I'm just saying.
And do you have a problem with the 60s?
Those were times that are best left back in the 60s.
From what you can remember.
From what I can remember, yeah.
Okay, good.
Look, all we did, we went out on a willy boat, and the willy boats are awesome.
Yeah, buddy.
The captain, or the guide that we had, his name's Daniel St. Laurent, and he actually said, look.
You're fishing with a Frenchman?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, jeez, Joe.
This guy was cool, though. He knew. Sometimes you go out with people who don't like to have fun, or
You're
who do
rattling
it as
him.
a job.
I'm telling you.
You are not rattling me. Cut it out. Anyway, we hooked into. My son got the first strike of the morning at about 7 o'clock, and it took us about 15 minutes to land it, and it turned out to be
Well,
a wild Chinook salmon.
all Chinooks?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one was over 30 pounds. He thought it was about 32 to 33 pounds, and it took a while to bring it in, and he had to chase it because that thing was stripping off line fast. The spring Chinook, they move pretty hot. And then later on, once we got it in, it was, of course, a wild salmon, so we had to release. And then,
What?
Yeah, if it's a wild salmon, you have to
They
release
have funky
it.
rules.
Yes. If it's a hatchery
That's
salmon,
part of the Ninth Circuit Court.
well, I don't know. I think it's just a matter of how they run their deal up there and continuation of the species. So if you catch one early in the year, they don't want it. They want it to spawn. They want it to go back.
Who
up.
determined that was wild, and what was the determination?
If it has a
They
dorsal,
clip the adipose fin
Ow.
Ow is right.
when they release the hatchery raised fish.
Now you talked about me punching cards being a bad job. I don't want to be the guy trimming off adipose fins.
I told you there's a labor force that would cover that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I guess it's a big volunteer effort, but they go through over 1 million that they trim off the adipose fins each year.
You going to bring volunteers up and get me going again?
If you get a phone call in the next week or so, don't say anything. Your name happened to pop up on my phone list of volunteers.
Really?
The clipper.
The Clipper. Don, the
Donnie
Clipper
the
McDowell.
Clipper.
My job is welding.
Now it's a trimmer. That's okay. They're only 6 inches long at that point.
You get your own scissors.
Now, look, we already did that once up at Bubbling Springs, Bubbling Ponds.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Thousands of fish got
Well, you're a veteran then.
Yeah.
tags.
Well, now this is how they do it up there. We did tour the Tillamook Cheese Factory. Went through, ate everything that they could offer that was free.
Did you get some cheese curds?
I did get curds, yes.
Oh, they're awesome.
Cheese curds are the best. And I like the smoked cheese better than anything else. So, and everything up there is green. The incredible diversity that they have of wildlife.
Including the society.
There's a reason it's green, though.
Yeah.
It rains all the time.
All the time. We took off in the mist. It was misting real heavily at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was 52 degrees and windy.
Here's a visual. Johnny in the mist.
Ooh, on a rope. Did you actually tie yourself to the boat?
No, what I did was I took the one position that if anything happened, I was out first. You know me.
Why would you volunteer for that? That's what you fear the most.
No, you got to face your fears. I didn't strap myself in. I didn't wear a safety vest. I just sat there and I said, by God, if I'm going down, I'm going down.
Joey just got back from Texas and snakes. Rule number 1 is don't get out of the boat. Period.
Yeah. I saw
And you put
though.
yourself in a position to be first out?
Yeah, I did.
What happened was stay with the boat.
He's special.
I
needs.
saw shore, and I figured and then Daniel goes, by the time you get to that shore, hypothermia will kill you anyhow. So
Yeah,
don't worry about
exactly.
it.
So rule is stay in the boat,
Yeah.
or if the boat capsizes, get on the boat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I didn't have much opportunity. We didn't take on water. Everything was fine. It was a great trip. Learned a lot about ocean fishing and about what they do, why they do, how they do. And their favorite bait was herring. And it's interesting how they flutter through the water. We caught a seagull. We caught a seagull. Almost caught a seal. Caught a clam. Caught a
How in the hell
crab.
did you catch it? Joey, how do you catch a clam?
It latched on. We came up and it was on there.
I have no idea.
I'm not.
I got
going there.
pictures. I have pictures, and we caught a clam. Trolling.
No doubt. Boy, that's got to be a first. Boy, it's a good thing you didn't catch any crabs. That said, we're going to flip into a, Blue Ointment will take care of that. We're going to flip into a break, take some of our sponsors when we come back. More with
Joe Nocta,
Jim Unmont.
Special guy.
Wow. We'll be right back.
See a new world through precision.
All righty, we're back. We're going to change gears and go to downtown San Diego. Yep, over on the left coast with Captain Bill Malahini Sport Fishing. Good morning, Captain.
Hey, good morning, guys. I like that song.
You would, Captain Layback.
I feel the full moon rising. Yes, sir.
Yeah, buddy.
What's shaking, Bacon?
Well, we're just trying to figure that out. We're heading into Memorial Day, pretty solemn day. It's not all about barbecue and beers, but, that's a whole nother story. I want to thank you for your service while we're getting going here. And what's up with the good ship Malahini these days?
Ooh, that sounds perverted.
Oh.
Well, we're in dry dock, as you already know. I had a phone call on the 11th or 12th of April at about noon. One of my operators apparently hit something that almost sheared the sonar dome off with solid brass and some other damage to the hull. We've been in the yard since the 14th, I do believe it was.
Wow.
Of April, trying to get all this stuff squared away. Pretty much.
Well, other than that, how's the fishing holding up? Looks like there was only 4 boats out of H&M yesterday. Light angler turnout, or what's the deal?
Fishing's been pretty good. Everybody has this attitude and grandeur of want to go out there and catch 150, 200-pound bluefin tuna. And your average angler is not going to be able to do that. They'll sit there and watch the guys who, I'm going to say, are skilled or know what to expect as far as, fishing for species like bluefin. It's pretty much hit and miss, and they don't see the fish counts, and they don't come out fishing.
Well, how about the yellowfin that we're nosing around a couple weeks ago?
I heard there was one boat yesterday that caught one, about 55 to 60 pounds.
Wow.
Are they here in force yet? I'm going to say probably not. If they are, we haven't located them. In that sense, it's still May. Typically, yellowfin don't show up until about the first week of last week of July, first week of August, something like that. Then it starts to get consistent, if you will. But it is what it is. I hate to say it like that.
Yeah,
but
you
it's the
can't.
truth.
You can't change it. JK just got back from a salmon trip. Had good reports.
It was fun.
Yeah. There's bonito out there to be had. There was a couple. There was a boat last week, Monday or Tuesday, fished Coronado Islands. He had limits of yellowtail, good quality yellowtail for fish 12 anglers, along with some barracudas and some bonito there. I'm just waiting for things to get back to normal. Normal 3/4 day fishing where, we go fish the islands and, we catch our barracudas, we catch our sand bass and our bonito, go over to the islands and catch our 15 to 35 pound yellowtail and come home. Just driving offshore, looking at schools and schools of bluefin tuna that don't want to bite is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's always.
it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It gets me excited too. But I mean, they're not biting. It's kind of defeating the purpose.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the Malahini boat will get handled. You'll be back in the water real soon.
We're hoping to be back in the water by the 6th of May. And
wait a minute. Excuse me. 10-4. Check that. Are you talking
6th
June?
of June.
Thank
6th
you.
of June. My bad.
Did the boat get hurt in April or May?
This would be May 14th.
Okay.
Well,
Captain Laidback, what have you been toking on this morning?
I'll run away to church, actually.
Okay. I know that. I'm not going there. I'm not touching that one. Okay.
When you're not in the water, your days just kind of stick together, and your months just kind of stick together because it's nauseating and it's long, and it's like, oh gosh, what's going on?
I do that every day.
It's like, okay, well, yeah. But it's all good. I mean, God's got a plan, and I don't know if everybody believes in God, and if I offended someone, I apologize. But God's got a plan. He's going to make it the way it's supposed to be. And I have to accept that, whether it's negative or positive. It is what it is. That's my favorite saying.
Yep, it's going to work out. I thought your favorite saying was "Happy wife, happy life."
Yeah,
that too.
Yeah,
she's sitting right next to me, as a matter of fact.
All right, give her a pat on the head.
Don't you dare do that.
No, I'll give her a kiss.
Thank you. You pat him on the head, you get a elbow in your you know where.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Kind of redefines Maui Wowie, doesn't it?
But I mean, on a serious note, we're going to be back in the water here, hopefully by the 6th. If not, it'll be the 13th or 14th. If they have to, they have to paint the boat again because it cracked when we pull all the paint cracked when we haul the boat out of the water.
Wow.
And we'll get that squared away and get back in the water, and hopefully we're running, by the 13th or 14th of June.
What facility do you have the Malahini in?
We are currently at the Marine Group South.
Okay.
And it's down in Chula Vista. It's a good yard.
Yeah.
They're very, very attentive to the needs and, what our expectations are.
Just out of curiosity, do they rail it out of the water or do they sling it and pull it?
It's slung. Yeah, it's on a sling. A sling 600 tons. It makes the Malahini look like a dwarf in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Wow. That's quite an operation. Yeah. Well, we're going to wish you the best of the rest of the Memorial Day weekend, Captain Bill.
Hey, you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend. And remember, the reason for Memorial Day is to give thanks to those individuals, who basically gave their lives for our freedoms.
Yes, sir.
Gotta stay focused on that.
Absolutely.
It's about the barbecuing and everything else and day off and this, that, one thing, the other. But, ultimately, it's, the ultimate sacrifice, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. All right, we're going to continue on. God bless you. Captain Bill on the Malahini. Check him out, hmlanding.com or malahinisportfishing.com. And you can check him out at 619-222-1144. All right, back to you, Herr Ed.
Mr. Ed.
Arizona Sportsman for Wildlife Conservation has another raffle.
We just kicked off a rifle donated by the Arizona Deer Association. It's a Weatherby Vanguard synthetic 6.5 Creedmoor caliber, so it's a pretty sweet rifle.
Are you familiar with that particular caliber?
Well, 6.5 has been around a while, but it's really regained popularity. Very accurate round. Probably more so because of people building better bullet choices for it. But the Weatherby Vanguard is a sub-MOA gun and an affordable gun. They're one of the guns that have changed a lot of these rifle manufacturers into accurizing their guns. So the Weatherby Vanguard, like a Beretta Tikka, Savage with an AccuTrigger, and the people that actually make the Weatherby Vanguard, which is Howa. So any Howa would do the same thing, but great, accurate guns. And the caliber, yeah, it's most of these bullet manufacturers could accurize almost any caliber if they decided to make bullets, better bullet choices. But the 6.5, they jumped on that, and it's very good. It's a very nice round.
How do we buy raffle tickets for this?
We're going to sell $10 tickets with a maximum of 400, and you can get them at azsfwc.org.
Cool.
Go to the raffle tab, click on that, and you'll be directed on how to do that.
So that was one of your last acts of defiance as president, is given the C a new rifle?
No, that was one of the prior acts. My last act is to go up to the Arizona Game and Fish Commission next week.
Yes.
And BBS for the mule deer and coos deer.
Woohoo!
There you go, then.
Steel. Yeah.
Yeah. Special tags are going to be.
Do you know who the new president of the ADA is?
Do I want to know?
No, there's not been a vote yet. So
I've heard a rumor.
You heard the right rumor.
Bernie Sanders.
Fish grows hair. He's on.
Yeah.
Donnie McDowell is going to be the next president of the ADA.
My first executive order will be appointing you special counsel.
He told his bride that she had to call him Mr. President now.
Yeah,
I got text on that.
Just before we deviate too much, I want to thank the ADA for the donation and for everybody to know this is how we fund our operations with these kind of contributions. So buy frequently and buy often because it's not going to last very long.
That is important. Well, we've had some good stuff. We had a nice scope from Lookout Mountain Explorer Optics. But that said, we're going to stand down and take a break. Thanks to our sponsors. All righty, we're back. I want to stay here with the executive director of the Arizona Sportsman for Wildlife Conservation, comprised of, Mr. President, how many? 33 or are we up to 34?
33 member groups with one or two in waiting and 7 affiliates with a couple in waiting.
Of which Lookout Mountain is one of those.
That's correct.
Absolutely. So, when are you coming to the next meeting?
Well, once I get by all these doctor's appointments or retire, I'll have some time.
JK happens to be a specialist in the art of a colonostomy, so.
It's not a colostomy. It's a colonoscopy.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You're going to feel some pressure with a hose, let me put it that way.
It's an air hose.
As long as both hands are not on my shoulders, I'll be okay with it.
Oh, here we go. Talk about midgets. No, we won't do that. You have been tasked with a lot, keeping track of the sea. We've got so many political issues right now. We've got the Grand Canyon bison issue, national monuments, and all kinds of stuff. What are you working on?
Well, we do have the Grand Canyon bison comment period with the National Park Service that ends on June 7. Input to the Department of Interior on national monuments and the Antiquities Act ends July 10th, I believe.
Boom. Yeah.
We just completed comment to the Tano National Forest on their planning assessment, and now that's going to be assessed, and we're looking for a decision here in the coming months. They haven't had a plan revision since 1985, so they're totally redoing everything. We're watching on an ongoing basis what the individual forests are doing with respect to EAs. We've had a couple in the Kaibab with some pipelines and wetlands improvement. We've got an easement issue up in the Prescott that finally was, after 7 years, was brought to a good conclusion. There's just a myriad of things out there that sportsmen and women need to be aware of that in a normal day-to-day course of their lives and their work, passions, free time aren't aware of. So we're trying to be a a collection point to that and make sure that our voices are heard on all these issues.
Is the current president of any value to you in your efforts?
Are we on the air?
Yeah.
Yes.
We are live.
So you want me to be
Pragmatic.
okay? Yeah, he's doing a fine job.
Yeah, there you go. Moving right along. Mr. President, what say you?
He's in training.
Yeah, it's OJT.
You're doing a fine job.
Actually, we're finding out that there is seems to be a perception of reluctance by the people who benefit from wildlife as an industry in joining our group sometimes, which is really depressing. I've had a couple of people who have, they make their living off of wildlife, or the hunters or the fishermen in the community. And quite frankly, anybody who earns a living from outdoorsmen or fishermen should be part of our group. And that's one of the things that I'm going to try and convey all year long, is that if you're an outfitter, if you're a guide, if you are somebody who sells hooks, bullets, arrows, fletchings, you name it, if you're making your money off of wildlife or the hunting community, then you need to be a part of our group. Because
Sounds like he's profiling. What do you think, Mr. Nacho?
No, I'm not. I'm just telling everybody he needs to be under an umbrella, because
absolutely,
we're going to have issues coming
Totally
that are going to
agree.
be really bad.
Well, and kudos to Joey, because his organization is one of our affiliates.
Yep, I know.
And John's right. I mean, when you take a step back, 5 years ago we had 12 organizations that were members, and now we almost have tripled in size. Here in the next 2 months, we'll be over 36. But we have 7 affiliates, and we probably ought to have 70.
Yeah.
If there are 750,000 hunters and anglers in the state of Arizona, we represent, a small fraction of that. We do have a large member organization group, which is good, but there's a lot of folks that aren't members of groups. So we're working on an individual membership program, too, that's going to kick off here in the next few weeks.
Cool.
That I'm looking forward to.
Yep. We'll bring that to everybody's attention when it happens. Some of the, you mentioned the Antiquities Act. We'll be talking to Senator Mike Lee in Utah next week, up close and personal. Senator Lee has drafted a bill to remove the Antiquities Act entirely.
Wait a minute, entirely, or
Yep.
to designate a smaller footprint?
From what I understand, he wants to make it go away, only because it's abused. I'm sure there's going to be some draft revision to keep it intact to a certain point, but right now, because of the abuse of it, he's thinking it's probably a good thing to go away. And,
Well, sooner or later, you're going to run out of land.
Yeah.
What are you going to do 100 years from now?
Well, they'll confine, as in Arizona, for example, with 19 monuments, you could confine everybody to the metropolitan areas of Phoenix, Flagstaff, and Tucson, and just essentially designate the rest of the state a monument.
Pretty much.
That's
That's
silly.
that sounds a little far-fetched,
But not 100 years
realistically,
from now.
it's not. When
No.
you talk about the land mass in Arizona that is relegated to some kind of special designation, you got to take a step back and go,
They're not
wait
all,
a minute
Yeah.
here.
Well, between the Native American tribes, all of their land, which we have absolutely no comments on, and then the monument designation, I think that's over half the state.
Parks,
Yeah.
wildlife refuges. I mean, there's a bunch.
Unfortunately, I don't believe that our elected people here, our politicians, are as engaged as they should be, and I'll leave it alone. That said,
I would only say one thing on the Antiquities Act. And with all due respect to Senator Lee, I'm not sure it's going to get a lot of traction to totally dissolve it.
well, that's true. But
Reforming it is a different matter.
I've heard that reformation is acknowledged as being necessary. When it was designed, it was for the smallest possible footprint to protect the antiquity.
Yeah.
Now, 1.8 million acres.
Well, look at the 500 million acres or whatever it was out in the ocean that President Obama was protecting.
Well, I think part and parcel of his strategy is similar to the art of the deal. You ask for the moon,
Yeah.
and digress from there and end up with a compromise. One of the things we're also going to be talking about, already looking at, is the Intertribal Buffalo Council that has partnered with the National Park Service, especially on our buffalo issue. They claim to represent 63 different tribes that have written into their treaties the ability to hunt, fish, and to a certain extent manage, I don't know what the exact language is, federal land, be it the parks. That's why they say they're involved, because I'll point blank ask them, why are you here? And he went into this diatribe, if you will, that because of our culture and the way our treaties are written, we, all 63 tribes, are going to help you with the buffalo.
That, Jimmy...
Wait a minute. Here's the catch-22.
Does he want me to talk about the Buffalo EA, or is he leading me down a path?
There's only one tribe here, the Navajo Nation, that has that language written in. So basically, they're putting out smoke. He did go on to say that back in the 1800s, the Indian negotiators out-negotiated the white guys, using his terms. So, back to you.
All right, because I'm not going to go there.
Fine. You want to talk about midgets?
No, I'm going to talk about buffalo.
What about
Please talk about
Tatanka.
Tatanka, bison.
Yeah. Go.
All right. 3 years ago, we were involved in the planning process with the National Park Service on bison. And that environmental assessment went nowhere. In 2015, Senator McCain introduced a bison management bill in the Senate, and Congressman Gosar similar bill in the House. They didn't go anywhere. So here we are. Fast forward, we have a new superintendent. We have a new EA. We've been given two options by the National Park Service. Keeping in mind the buffalo have proliferated, the habitat's being destroyed, and we have issues up there. The first alternative is no action. Now, realistically, that's not going to happen. The second alternative is something that you want to pick up.
Yeah, let's
okay.
We're running out of time here. We need to do roll call. Unfortunately, guys, moving into the Memorial Day weekend, we need to talk about 22-year-old specialist E.J. Murphy that died in Syria on Friday. I don't have any details from Department of Defense, but Murphy was born in Boston, spent most of his childhood there in Massachusetts, and was assigned to the 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment at Hunter Army Airfield near the Georgia coast. Like I said, I'm not real sure what the circumstances were. There was something about a vehicle rollover. And as we were coming to the station this morning, there was a briefing put out by Fox News in Mississippi. There are 8 dead, including a deputy sheriff, after some type of domestic dispute. And all we know is the suspect is in custody. That said, as always, our heartfelt condolences go out to Ranger Murphy, his family and his unit, and certainly the LEOs that went down. That's the price of freedom. Think about that tomorrow while you're having your barbecue and beers. I'm Don McDowell. We'll be back.
Now, here's your host, saltwater fisherman, the man that fears no fish, Bass Daddy and Tournament Pro, Don McDowell.
Hey, thanks for joining the second hour of Shake, Rattle, and Troll. If you just joined us, my co-host, wingman, president of the Arizona Super Big Game Raffle and the ADA for a short time, John J. Colazar is in the house, surviving a fishing trip up to Seattle.
I didn't survive.
Yes,
It wasn't Seattle.
yeah,
It was Portland.
Whatever.
You see, this is how twisted truths nail me sometimes.
Fake news.
Fake news. Exactly. This is what Donald talks about. You got the information correctly and decided to manipulate it to make it sound bad.
You just wanted to press your button.
Yeah, he did.
Portland, Seattle, what's the difference?
Big difference.
No, there's not.
I still love
the
that.
executive director of the AZSFWC, James Unmock, and entrepreneur extraordinaire, world-class African hunter, Joe Notch is here. Bought a bodyguard. Did you have to wheel him in? I talked to him yesterday, and I thought maybe we should get him a walker or a wheelchair with a motor on it, all-terrain tires. That's what it's coming to.
All of us are getting to that point. You know, Joey's going in for major overhaul on all his parts.
Well, Doug's joining us. I think he's on a permanent residency at the chiropractor and the podiatrist. What do you think, Doug?
You guys make me laugh. I'm listening to this conversation. I'm beginning to wonder who is telling the truth.
Thank you. I am.
What?
Well, my question to you, J.K., not to get off target here, but is...
he is the target.
When you with the fishing trip, did you manage to catch anything?
Negative on that.
There's another button.
You know what? All that mattered to me was that I was in the boat with people who I intimately care about, my son and his friend McDowell. And the three of us were the only people who could do anything. And there were 4 lines out, 2 strikes, and my son pulled them both in. I couldn't be happier.
Dougie got a clam.
Well, those were great looking fish.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe you could write an article on the art of catching a clam
I could.
while trolling.
Hey, we caught a clam, we caught a crab, we caught a seagull, and we almost caught a sea lion. I was happy.
Oh, jeez.
Did they have anybody on board with the 30-30 popping seals?
No, but they paintballed them. They were paintball shooting at them.
Really?
To scare 'em. Oh, yeah, to scare them off. One guy went pop. I kept hearing pop, 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 pop. And I'm looking around, and Daniel goes, yeah, he does that a lot when he gets mad. They get too close to his boat because they steal his fish.
Ooh.
Yep.
Ooh.
We need to move along on that. I don't want this guy to be impacted by...
It wasn't Daniel, but I know the guy who was doing it.
How?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I mean, that's still good sport. It used to be a 30-30, which was effective.
Can't do that
sometimes,
anymore.
I know if you didn't hit them right the first time, you had to hit them 3 or 4 times before they sunk. So, anyway, moving along, I want to thank you for all you're doing on the new website. The newsletter had a national flavor to it, and one of the things that I don't know if I shared with you, we did get a call from the Border Patrol. I think I told you. Agents Paco and Sullivan want to join us sometime in June to talk about all the stuff that they're doing. Doug's been tracking the activity of the VP in southern Arizona, and I'm telling you, these guys are kicking some butt.
They are.
They're on point. Give us a little rundown, DQD, on some of the activity for this past week for May 28th.
You mean the Border Patrol?
Yeah, on VP.
Well, before I get into that, and I will talk about it here momentarily, but you all were talking about the Antiquities Act, and excuse me. One of the things that I thought about on the Antiquities Act, and I don't know if this is something being discussed back in Washington or not, whether they get rid of it, reduce it, or whatever, maybe the better solution is to take it out of the hands of the president and make it a congressional issue.
Oh, that would certainly slow things down.
Well, it would slow things down for sure, no question about it. But I tend to think that there's too much power in the president to do that kind of thing, and it ought to be something more of a political discussion and decision.
I'd be hard-pressed to support anything with the Congress right now, with the mood of Congress and their ineptness to get anything done with the way the Democrats are acting right now.
I agree with you.
Well, we've got Jim. Help me out with this. Why was the Bison bill stalled?
Well, it passed committee, but it never got a vote in the Senate,
and that was because
they didn't want to move it initially as a standalone bill, so they were trying to find a bill to attach it to.
What the hell is up with that?
And we got to work on that kind of thing.
Frankly.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we keep having that issue on Sportsman's. It can't be standalone. The sage grouse should have been standalone. We tried to get McCain to tack it on to NDAA, where probably should have been to begin with because of the military readiness implications. But anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked on that, Doug. Go ahead.
Doug, just to comment on your antiquities discussion.
Yeah.
The folks in the West that are subjected to the act because the monuments are designated in their neighborhood or their backyard or in their state want some input on those things. But the challenge is that 2/3 of the country, where there are relatively few monuments, they love them. They love the monuments. They want to see more, but they're not out here living with them.
Well,
so that's the challenge.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Jim. The impact is on the West, not the East.
Yep.
So it becomes a real issue for us folks that live out here. And frankly, guys, I've out on our website, I've made an association with a group out of San Juan County here in Utah that has been had quite an impact on this Bears Ears thing, especially when Zinke came out. That was unique in the way that occurred because the Democratic left never got to this event. It was strictly what Zinke was talking to was the local individuals, Indians, ranchers, etc. And there's the information he got, and that was a good thing, in my opinion. So, I think things are turning around for us. It's just a matter of we got to keep the pressure on in order to make things happen.
There's no question.
Well, at any rate,
I was just going to say there's no question that voice needs to be heard. But following the Zinke visit, the left-wing press was all over the fact that in their mind, that the input he's getting is only from one side.
Of course.
So it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, no question about it. And it was never really officially stated, but the information I got from this, her name is Janet Wilcox out of San Juan, is that Zinke came unannounced, and no one knew when he was going to be there, but it was infiltrated down to these folks in San Juan County. Boom, he's there with all the locals. So that worked out for them, yes, and I understand the Democrats got all jumpy about it.
All right, let's move ahead to BP.
Yeah, Border Patrol. Hey, look, guys, I put out on our website a weekly recap of what the Arizona Border Patrol is doing and what they're seizing and confiscating and arresting. Last week we had a couple of sex offenders that were arrested. Narcotics were confiscated. They jumped in by Apache helicopters to catch some smugglers. They arrested 6 and seized marijuana and meth totaling of about $550,000. They found 11 distressed aliens. You have to remember, these guys at the border not only protect us, but they also protect some of these people that are coming across that really don't know what they're doing. EMPs are involved. Medical people from the Border Patrol are out there helping these folks. And lastly, they seized out of the Tucson station more than 80 pounds of hard narcotics. So this is a weekly thing that goes on out there, anywhere from, 6, 8, 10 different situations that occur with our Arizona or the Border Patrol in Arizona. So that's kind of a wrap on what they've been doing down there, and they're doing a great job.
Yeah, they sure are. They're our first line of defense. I talked to one guy last night that has been engaged with the Border Patrol for more than 30 years, and he's he doesn't want to discuss the political aspect of this, but they just finished up about an 8-mile section of the pedestrian wall at Naco. They're putting in 18 electronic surveillance towers that are in each other's shadows, and I think, from what I understand, those are about 14 or 15 miles apart.
Yeah.
So, that's in some real heavy terrain that may not be able to be fenced, but it's under, an electronic curtain. So,
well, you and I got to see that firsthand on our last trip.
Yeah.
On those being built. Yeah. information.
Yeah, the only problem I had, on that trip is you, snuggling up behind me because you didn't have body armor. I mean, that was just really uncomfortable.
I didn't know we needed body armor out there.
Well, yeah. He keeps going, Don, you go first. I'm going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Derek and Doug spooning with Donnie.
Yeah, buddy, man.
Well, we all get out, and I'm setting up to do a video, and those two guys, Agent Dan and Don, throw on their vests, and I think, whoa, what's going on here?
Poor performance.
I hide behind the truck.
Yeah, well, I just wish J.K. would have been down there. That redefines one of his areas of expertise, the spot. You'd be in hog heaven down there, put you up on a hill.
Yeah, let me glass all day long. That's a job old guys can do,
Oh, yeah, we can sit still for a really long time.
Exactly. Well, do you want me to give you an update on what's going on, what we're doing here in the next
No, we need to flip into a break, so when we come back, we can do that. All right. All righty, we're back with the Dairy Queen King himself, Doug Stricker, downtown St. George, Utah. All right, back to you, Doug. What else is happening?
Oh, well, hey, just a kind of an update of what's going on. We are dramatically moving on this website, anticipate breaking 10,000 pages. And by the end of June, I think we're going to be in that 15 to 20,000 content pages on this website. That's a big deal. We're nationwide now in 50 states and over 1,500 cities and regions. So it doesn't matter who you are around this country, they're starting to hit this website. We broke a record this past week. So we're shooting at between the 6,000 to 10,000 page views a month now.
Wow.
So things are really jumping. And so that's good news for us.
I got your communique on over 40,000 distributions on the newsletter, but one thing I wanted to clarify for J.K. and his heritage, you had an article in there about a chicken farmer defends his property rights in a bizarre Colorado case. Did that have anything to do with Hungarians?
Not to my...
Okay.
Not to my knowledge.
No.
Yeah. If there's Hungarians,
Gypsies
will take your chickens and your children.
Yeah, nice.
Don't worry.
Well, Don made a good point. We do a lot now on our social media. When we post something out on our Facebook page, we can hit up to 140,000 people out there, and that's growing as well. So we're really reaching out now, guys, and for the listeners out there, pay attention to what we're doing. We've got a lot of good information out on this website. And a comment, tomorrow, being Memorial Day, I will be in downtown St. George visiting with Congressman Stewart. And
really?
And this week, I don't have a venue. I mean, I don't have an appointment to talk to him, but I'm hoping to get to talk to him again. He's doing some kind of speech of some sorts for Memorial Day at our local cemetery. So there'll be a lot of people out there, and I'll be posting some pictures of that on our website.
Well, he's kind of an interesting guy. I didn't know he was a fighter pilot until I walked into his office in D.C., and we had a discussion on going for a white-knuckle bass boat ride. And he goes, really? See that picture up on the wall? Oh, wow. So.
Well, the good news here, Don, is he is in St. George. So how long he's going to be here, I don't know.
Okay.
Might get that opportunity. While Don is going to be down here, we're going to be in Senator Lee's office talking to some second-in-command type people with the Lee office and talking about various topics. And you've already mentioned some of them, but regarding the National Park Service, horses and burros, sage grouse, and the Antiquities Act. So there's a lot of discussion that's going to happen.
Well, one of the things we'll be talking about, we have a localized issue with the National Park Service that has, at least in my mind, national implications. We need to get in and be able to harvest our buffalo. And Mr. ED, what are the two national parks we can already hunt in? Teton and what's the other one? Anyway, that's one of the things we're going to be doing is talking to all the guys and see what they can do to help us from a Senate level. And
well, I think the big deal here, Don, anymore is that we're becoming a major influence in our political system. And we want to make our point, and we're getting our points out there. So hang on, listeners.
All right.
So that's about it, Don.
Good stuff. Any advice on signing up for the newsletter?
You bet. You can always go to our website. At the top in our menu is newsletter. Sign up for it. We've put a lot of good information out there for you folks. Anything else, Don?
No, Doug, I think we're good. The guys up at the IT shop there at Red Frog are doing a hell of a job. And
yeah, they are.
One final question. We're collaborating with the Wild Horse and Burro Symposium being held there in Utah. JK, is there any update from either one of you guys on this Heber horse issue?
Negative. Jimmy, have you?
Huh?
Nope. No, there is no updates that we've heard at all.
Okay. Well, we're going to get more into that. Like I've told you about this Beyond the Bear's Ears lady out of San Juan County. It's paying attention to what we're doing, and we're putting some of their stuff out there. They are going to, in turn, push our stuff. So it's a collaboration, and we're going to make some great inroads there. All right, I'm good, Don.
Okay, well, I appreciate you chiming in today. We will see you at the Dairy Queen downtown St. George, Utah, sometime on Wednesday.
Yes, you will.
Still your turn to buy.
Right,
you lost 38 states. I'm just saying.
I know it.
Okay.
I owe you a milkshake. I get it.
38.
38.
Yeah. But.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Have a great day. By the way, Doug, thank you for your Air Force service.
Not a problem. Thank you.
All right. That's it for the marketing strategist. Anything to add to that on the getting our Utah neighbors involved?
I want to have us involved with them as long as they are involved with our issues as well as a reciprocity agreement. And quite frankly, if they can push any of our legislators in the Western Caucus towards the directions that we need. I'm very disappointed that Senator McCain hasn't done more on that Bison Act. We need to get them involved, and they're not.
Yeah. So. That said, when we come back, James Guggenauer, the master rod builder, from RimCountryCustomRods.com. I'm Don McDowell with
Special K
and Jim Unbach.
You're back.
I'm back.
Live.
You cut me off.
All righty, we'll be back. All righty, we're back. James, what's happening up in downtown Payson? How's your weather? And how's your voice, first of all?
Well, thank you for the voice. Yeah, I can actually talk this week, so it's a pleasure to be back on the show. 10 days of antibiotics will do wonders for you. And good morning, Don, JK, and Jim. What a great show. I'm listening online here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so, did you get the notification on the moratorium for a short time on the Salt River Lakes, Apache, Canyon, and Saguaro? Any thoughts on that if you got it?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, more than just thoughts. Got your call first, and then talked to a couple of game and fish reps, but more importantly, I talked to some of our tournament anglers, both from Payson and Tonto Basin, and you know what? They're all for it.
Good.
They understand, the risk that they take when they release the fish, especially on Apache around Burn Corral, because that's where the golden aga is growing. And so they're like, hey, we understand. We're glad to see Game and Fish and the aquatics group taking some positive action. I mean, good for those guys to stand up and say we got to do something here.
Well, I think they're trying to be proactive, but there's only so much you can do. You can't fight Mother Nature and win it. So, maybe the flushing effort. What were you seeing on additional flows coming out of Roosevelt to help the drain the swamp issue?
Yeah, absolutely. That was part of it. The request to try to increase some of the flows to get water moving, because the algae grows because of stagnant water or slow-moving water. So this week I've seen a dramatic increase in the amount of water being taken out of Roosevelt. It's up to like 2,000 acre-feet per day, and that's up from nearly zero the last couple of weeks. So whatever was coming in is what they were taking out. But it looks like there is an attempt to try to flush the system a little bit and maybe get some water moving down there.
On another note, the department has agreed to stock 250,000 extra fish in Arizona waters through June. Are you guys getting any of that up there on your rim country lakes?
You know what? Traffic in Payson is just unbelievable. I think everybody knows that there's extra fish being put in all the lakes and streams this holiday weekend, and the traffic, you can't even describe it. From Thursday all the way through yesterday, just a steady flow of traffic coming in. And I'm sure that probably midday today it's going to start in the reverse direction. It's going to go all the way through Tuesday.
Yep, buddy. JK, just so you'll know, from our Arizona Game and Fish Department, they are recommending chunks of hot dogs make a great catfish bait.
I knew that. There's your whole reason for having anything. That's what a hot dog or a Vienna sausage was made for, catfish bait.
What is with you and Vienna sausage?
I don't like them.
A good friend of ours, Al Sue, loves them.
Oh, yeah.
Good. I knew there was something demented
He loves
wrong
them.
about that.
Well, they're wonderful. They're like Pop-Tarts. I don't believe they have a shelf life.
Yeah, they don't.
No.
And if you want them toasted, you can put them in your armpit for 15 minutes.
Oh.
What?
You put them on the radiator. Or on the block of the
Bass
engine.
boats don't have radiators.
My car, the Prius. I don't have a radiator either, but on Prius.
Haven't you ever cooked a burrito on your radiator?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
Well, you don't even have to worry about the wrapper with a can of Vienna sausage.
Pot roast, you name it. Works well. All right, back to you, James. We got to keep moving.
Hey, in spite of the algae blooms, and I just want to say that the restrictions that Game Fish put in place are not applicable to a Roosevelt Lake. Roosevelt Lake turned over a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of the algae that was present up there has seemed to pretty much dissipated. There's a couple small pockets of it, but nothing like you're seeing on the lower level lakes. So fishing on Roosevelt, the bass are moving into a summer pattern. For the most part, the spawn is over. You'll still see some fish up on spawning flats. For the most part, guys are switching over to a drop shot and using a Cinco or robo worm. And I heard you guys talking about that lizard. I don't know who let that out of the bag, but lizards are a good bait to be using this time of year, and that technique is going to stay in place for the next couple of months, at least up on Roosevelt. Fishing 15 to 20, a little over 20 feet of water seems to be the area, and a greenish color bait, whether it's a Cinco, or robo worm, or lizard, seems to be the best for Roosevelt right now.
Really?
Really.
Well, okay. Maybe you should try the Yuri Yamamoto Cinco wacky style, white with the black and gold fleck.
You better write that down. Nobody's going to remember that.
Yeah, they will.
That's a good bait, and if you take that black one with the gold flake and change it for a green one, fish those two baits, and you're going to be good.
Okay. Nice. So while you're dragging your worm, are you going to use a 3/8 barrel weight or go to a 1/2 inch?
With the Cinco?
No, with the worm.
Oh, yeah.
Or the lizards.
With the lizard, I just use a little torpedo sinker. I'm not...
You're not Carolina then?
No, not Carolina rig. Not just yet. I mean, when the water gets a little bit warmer and we get in another month from now and you're fishing down deeper in the 20 to 30 feet, That's where a Carolina rig is much better, at least for the Roosevelt Lake area. So right now, just a nice Texas rig or a nice drop shot, whether it's lizards or crawdads or worms, guys are catching limits of fish early in the morning.
That's good. Any top water action early or late?
Early, yeah, very early.
Okay.
I'm hearing that when the sun comes up over the mountain, the sunlight doesn't even need to touch the water now. As soon as the sun comes up, it kind of dies down.
Wow.
But if you'd like to get to the lake early, just as it's starting to get to be safe light and fish from then until that sun comes up over the mountain, there is a good topwater bite. Look on major points coming out further into the lake. Not even in the backs of coves so much, Don, but more major points is where we're seeing shad getting pushed early in the morning.
Yeah. Any action on the secondary cuts?
Don't see too much there. Don't waste your time back in the backs of those coves. I don't know what's going on. It just seems to be more, if your anglers are familiar with Long Gulch or where the islands are across from the dam, those types of areas seem to be producing the best numbers right now.
All right. That's good advice. What else you got?
Well, the crappie spawn, getting reports that it's pretty much over. Talking to Art Chamberlain earlier in the week, said that don't see many crappie up on spawning areas anymore. So they're moving out into deeper water, and they're trying to get into bigger schools. And so start using your sonar. Look for the brush that's kind of submerged. Guys have gone to a vertical fishing technique now rather than trolling. And not big numbers of crappie, to be honest with you, the last couple of weeks. But guys can see the pattern kind of coming together. So probably, another couple of weeks, let that water clear up a little bit in Roosevelt, and we ought to be able to get back to some good crappie fishing up there.
Okay, anything on trout? And the question I had for you, I know the department was pretty hung up on removing largemouth and smallies from Willow Springs. How did that finally turn out?
Well, it's still going on. There's still lots of conversations about that. It keeps getting delayed. They keep talking about, well, we're going to go in and we're going to do some big shocks and we're going to try to get more fish out. But I don't hear any big numbers of any of them being found. So I don't know if they're still in a wait-and-see attitude. They're definitely talking about doing it. Anglers are definitely upset. I've gotten more than one call of anglers that have opinions on not so much that they're taking them out of Willow Springs, but the fact that they kill them whenever they take them out.
Yeah.
It seems like there ought to be other lakes that we could move those smallmouth to and take some approach like that. So
there is, but once they get them out, they have to go through a short incubation period and quarantine and get them checked for parasites and LMBV and all that kind of stuff. So,
right, yeah,
go figure.
We kind of understand the process, and maybe a good compromise is that the angler groups that are interested in this, maybe they pay for that testing or something.
Well, they need to just reverse the process. That's how they got there in the first place, in a bucket.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, all right, real quick, we've got a major event coming up June 3rd at downtown Payson. We have your Monster Mudder. We've got a veteran celebration. Congressman Gosar will be in attendance, thanking these fellows for their sacrifice and service. What else is happening?
Yeah, when the whole rodeo area, or the event center that we call it here in Payson, Cameron Davis has transformed that thing into the Mudder. There are competition flags up. There's mounds of dirt. There's mud, lots of mud, and I'll tell you, it's going to be a huge event. If you've never seen one of these or participated in one, it is great fun to go do. I mean, JK can be a witness here. It's a hard course to follow. It gets a lot of publicity and always gets a good turnout from the local community.
It's a harder course to run than it is to follow. Trust me, James.
Ooh.
Fun times. We're really looking forward to that. This is a time of year where it's beautiful up here. I mean, it's 70 degrees in the morning, 75 degrees in the late afternoon, and perfect weather, just a nice little breeze blowing through Payson, and everybody loves it.
What's your temperature up at New River?
We were last couple of mornings in the high 50s. This morning, 60.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, morning or afternoon?
Well, at the end of the heat transfer, you're still maintaining 5 to 8 degrees cooler than it is in the valley.
5 to 10.
5 to 10. Nice. All right. Well, there's something to be said about rural living, let's say.
High country, baby.
High country.
Yeah.
New River is not high country. Leave it alone.
Mid-high country.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
High desert.
All right, here we go, James. Hey, we're going to wish you the best of the weekend, and certainly for Memorial Day. A lot of folks to remember.
Absolutely. Let me, I heard your previous guest say this, that everybody spend some time today reflecting on why we do Memorial Day.
Exactly. All right.
Thanks a lot.
On that note, thank you for your service. I know what you did, so.
Appreciate it.
We're going to move along, James. Have a great weekend. We appreciate your participation. It's Shake, Rattle, and Troll. So, you had something to add on national parks?
Bison.
Look, they're buffalo. Okay.
All right. We have a comment period that ends on June 7. There's two alternatives. One's really a non-issue, and it's no action. The second one is proposing that the National Park Service do a combination of things: haze, cull, corral, and give away. They have come around in the last 3 years to now they're proposing to allow skilled volunteers the ability to shoot buffalo in groups, and we don't know the number in the group, maybe 5, whatever. Once they kill the buffalo, a processing team would come along, and then theoretically the people that have harvested in that group get to keep the meat. They cannot keep the hides and horns. That would go to tribes or some other museum or school or something along those lines. In the meantime, they're going to haze, they're going to corral, and they're going to give away Arizona's buffalo.
Who are they giving them away to? Because I've got a backyard that's big enough for
Well,
one.
that's a good question. They said tribes and other interested entities. So theoretically, they could potentially give them away to a landowner or you if you have enough acreage.
Really?
That's to be determined yet. But really, that alternative, it really isn't acceptable.
No.
So what we intend on doing is providing comment that says, one, the two alternatives you have proposed are not acceptable to us. You need to have a third alternative.
Right.
Let the Game and Fish Department, Arizona Game and Fish Department, manage hunts to take care of the killing piece to this, but also help direct and manage the hazing, corralling, and moving these bison off the park. Some bison on the park apparently are okay by the Park Service because the visitors like them. But they need to move most of them off and get them so the habitat isn't continued to be destroyed.
I'll tell you one thing, Jimmy. Because of this reaction by the National Park Service, where they're going to look for skilled volunteers to go in and kill, it tells me that the Park Service personnel have absolutely no idea why we hunt.
They will not, and Don and I were in one meeting. We had another couple of people at the Flagstaff meeting. They are telling us that you cannot, quote unquote, hunt on the park because it wasn't enabled when the park was established.
Well, how about a congressional mandate that says we can't?
Well, that's the other piece to this effort.
Jim, expand on the enabled issue.
All right. When the parks are established by Congress, they can put in language that says you could hunt, and there's different parameters. The Grand Canyon National Park did not have that kind of language put in there. There's a couple that do. Tetons for one, and I think the other one is that comes to mind is Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado. Those parks allow certain types of hunting. Grand Canyon National Park is holding by the letter of the enabling legislation and saying since there's nothing in there about hunting, you can't hunt. We can kill, we can hire sharpshooters, we can invoke skilled volunteers, but you can't hunt. We need to get the other piece to this effort. We need to get Congress back on the dime and get legislation involved through our senators and our congressmen and women, and get that changed so we can hunt. And the Arizona Game and Fish Department can then manage Arizona's buffalo, because right now, when they're on the park, they can't.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. They came to that same meeting and said, okay, if you go back 3 years ago with the meetings we were all sitting in, they said at that time, we have between 400 and 600 buffalo on the park that need to be removed. Now, 3 years later, they're saying we have between 400 and 600 buffalo that need to be removed. That number hasn't changed in 3 years?
Well, they are giving you a range, and they're now saying they want to have on the park 100 to 200. They want the others hazed, corralled, given away, and killed.
And what are they going to do? Are they going to have hazing, corral, and killing every year to keep it at 200?
When we were introduced to the park superintendent, I looked at her and I said, I'd really like to be a witness to your hazing and your corralling.
Yeah. Oh, I would too.
Yeah, good luck on that.
So we need to give input to the Park Service. We need to tell our congressional delegation to get off the dime. We'll have an action alert coming out in the next couple of days that'll give you instructions on where to send your comment and who your congressman and your senator are.
What was her attitude when you said that you wanted to be there for the hazing and corralling?
She chuckled.
She knows it's not going to work.
No.
Well, I have a question for you guys. If government cut back funding on payroll and stuff, where are they getting the man hours to staff these people at Hayes? I mean, where's
that's the key. At the end of Alternative 2, it says we will have this done by the end of 2017 as long as we have funding.
Well, they're not. Funding has to go to payroll, right?
You have to have the money to do what they propose. And if they would allow the Game and Fish Department and hunters to take care of it,
it wouldn't cost
them anything.
Yep.
Right, they'd police themselves.
That makes too much sense, though.
But they still have to pay for the equipment to house them, right? To build fences in order to put them through the process.
No, you build a fence, they'll tear them down.
A buffalo doesn't respect fence.
No, not at all.
So you corral them in a designated area, and they'll just stay there.
I
don't know.
I told her I wanted to watch that.
Yeah. Don, I mean, shoot. Who's in charge of those services?
The park superintendent.
Yeah. Okay, well, who's above federally? Who's above the park superintendent?
This will fall under the guise of
ultimately it's
Secretary
Zinke.
Yeah. Yep. So that's where
I think there's some letters that should go to Secretary.
Oh,
Zinke.
absolutely.
Well, that's a part of the process. Yes.
Yeah. So, anything to add on your behalf?
No,
Mr. President?
No, I think that there's a couple things that are coming up now. We are in the last month of the Arizona Big Game Super Raffle. May, June, we're closing it down at the first week in July. We have the OHV, which not near and dear to my heart, but it's an absolutely wonderful tool that a lot of people might want to get involved with. So we're raffling off a quad on the 1st of July. And
yeah.
August 5th, Sportsman's Summit.
That's going to be a biggie. If you hunt or fish, you need to come. Period. End of story.
The Arizona Sportsman for Wildlife Conservation is putting on the first annual Sportsman's Summit at the Ben Avery Clay Target Center at Game and Fish headquarters off Carefree Highway in Phoenix. We hope to have between 300 and 400 people, and we're going to talk about not just issues, but advertising the member groups, what they do, where they are. We're going to have an excellent banquet for a reasonable amount of money, and we're going to have a fundraising piece also with silent auction raffles,
live auction. Yep. Not many, but it's going to be a day that you can. I think it starts at 2:00.
We're going to tentatively starting at 2 and hope to get out of there at 9ish.
That would be nice.
But we've got some big ideas planned for it, and right now our target price is $25 a ticket, so it's not going to be a bank breaker.
Easy enough.
Yeah. Well, those are the key features that are coming up. I'll be at the commission meeting next Saturday to request tags for both the Arizona Big Game Super Raffle and the ADA.
And the following week it's Tonto Week.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
12th and 13th. looking at the wilderness boundary issues of the Tonto National Forest.
With Carolyn Epler.
And the 15th, we have more meetings put on by the Tonto, and I'll be at the Cave Creek one.
You just love all this.
This Tonto stuff is just unbelievable.
Well, it's fascinating the way this turns out. The meeting you attended, I think that. Did you do an actual head count of private sector that were there up against the 12?
Well, there was at least a dozen people from the National Park Service.
Yeah.
There was probably 3, 4, 5 game and fish folks. I think there was around 20 to 25
something like that.
people from the public. So it was pretty much
one-on-ones.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to screw you.
That's what it turns out. The BLM meetings that I've been going to on their issues. There's no less than 14.
Well, the last
staff.
BLM meeting I was at was the Sonoran Desert National Monument recreational shooting.
Yep.
There were 14 BLM people and 4 people from the public. Four.
And they wonder why their budgets are difficult.
Well, we are uncovering some things. It's interesting, the information we get that isn't public yet, but apparently BLM, and we're trying, I'm not going to take a shot necessarily at the BLM, but they're telling one of their private sector groups that goes in and cleans up and picks up everybody else's trash that they're not going to be able to do that anymore. In fact, they've already kicked them off and stopped them from doing that. BLM, rumor has it, is going to let the trash build up to the point that they just say, you know what, we're going to close this.
Well, I'll tell you what, on the topic of BLM, right now there's a Black Canyon corridor travel management plan underway. So if you access any roads or trails between New River and Cordis, I believe it is, they're going to undertake a travel management plan and assess whether or not they ought to close roads or keep roads open. So you can go to the BLM website to look into that.
You gotta be kidding me.
I'm not kidding you. And the deadline for comment, I believe, is June 6th.
Wow.
That corridor is pretty narrow.
That's a challenge. That's a challenge with the federal agencies. Is there's the number and the issues that they have coming out. You have to stay on top of this stuff, or you hear about it after the
Well,
fact.
I think this is part and parcel. We're seeing a huge push as we did last year with the new administration. There's an awful big push for these guys to cram as much restriction and policy change down our throats while the new cabinet guys are being seated.
We're gonna do our darndest to keep you informed on that kind of thing. You go to www.azsfwc.org and go to the hot issue button, and hopefully you can keep tabs on some of this stuff.
There's a lot of tabs because there's a lot of hot issues.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Well, same applies to the ShakeRattleAndTroll.com website. We're trying to keep abreast of a lot of the localized stuff and the ones that have national implication, the Bears Ears, the Antiquities Act, the Sage Grouse, the Buffalo, the this, the that, and on and on and on. There's no stopping it. All right, that said, guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. JK, great job.
As always, Bass Daddy, thank you.
Mr. Unmock, appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
And
appreciate the invite.
We're going to be making some changes, so stay tuned to the ShakeRattleAndTroll.com and sign up for the newsletter and see what's in store. I'm Don McDowell. Thanks for listening.
I am Special K.
With special needs. Jimmy, thank you, man.
Yeah, thanks for the
invite. All right, hey, take your kids fishing, hug your bass boat, folks. We are out of here.